Something about that house on East Delmar Street never quite added up. Three women were there one moment and gone the next. No struggle, no note, no trace, just silence. And what investigators would spend the next 30 years trying to understand is not just where they went, but how. How do three people disappear from inside a home, overnight, leaving behind everything they owned, and never be found again? This is the story of the Springfield Three. It was June 1992 in Springfield, Missouri. A Saturday evening, warm, easy, the kind of night that belongs to young people. Suzanne Streeter, everyone called her Suzie, had just graduated from Kickapoo High School that afternoon. She was 19 years old, and the summer stretched out ahead of her like a promise. Her best friend, Stacy McCall, had graduated alongside her. Stacy was 18, bright-eyed, already looking forward to a trip to Branson the next day. A water park, a little celebration, something to mark the moment. The two girls spent that evening the way most kids do after graduation. They moved between parties, laughed, stayed out late. At around 10:30 that night, Stacy called her mother. It was a simple check-in, the kind of call parents ask for, and kids make because they know better than not to. Her mother, Janice McCall, answered. They spoke briefly. Everything was fine. Stacy said goodnight. That was the last time Janice heard her daughter's voice. Suzie's mother, Sherrill Levitt, was 47 years old, a cosmetologist, a single mother. She was home that night on East Delmar Street, the house she shared with Suzie. She had a doctor's appointment on Monday, work later that week. She was last heard from at around 11:15 on the evening of June 6th. After that, nothing. Suzie and Stacy left their last party at approximately 2:15 in the morning on June 7th. They drove to the Levitt home. It appeared they arrived safely. Their cars were in the driveway, their purses inside, their clothes and jewelry still in the house. But at some point between 2:15 in the morning and 7:30 that same morning, all three women were gone. When friends came by later that day to check on the girls, no one answered the door. They went inside. The house was empty, but it didn't look abandoned. Sherrill's bed had been slept in. Personal items were everywhere. Purses, money, driver's licenses, prescription medication, car keys, even the family dog, a little one named Cinnamon, was still there. Nothing had been packed. Nothing had been taken. The only thing out of place, outside on the front porch, was a shattered light fixture. The kind of damage that happens when something or someone strikes it. By the time police arrived, the situation had already slipped away from them. Friends and family, desperate and confused, had been moving through the house. Ashtrays had been emptied, coffee cups rinsed. An unknown number of people had walked through the scene before investigators had a chance to secure it. Police would later estimate that somewhere between 10 and 20 people had been inside before the first officer processed the space. Whatever evidence might have been there, some of it was already gone. Springfield responded the way small American cities do when something unthinkable happens. Within days, more than 20,000 missing persons posters had been distributed across the city. Volunteers searched parks, fields, roadsides. Divers went into Lake Springfield and combed a stretch of the James River. The FBI joined the investigation on June 9th, The Missouri State Highway Patrol was involved. Multiple agencies pooled resources and personnel, and they found nothing. No physical evidence pointing to a suspect. No indication of where the women had gone. No witnesses who had seen anything definitive. The investigation cast a wide net and came back empty. One witness reported seeing a green van near the Levitt home on the morning of the disappearance. She believed she saw a woman who resembled Suzie Streeter in the passenger seat. Police took the tip seriously. They searched thousands of vans across the region. They even painted a vehicle green and parked it outside the police department to encourage tips. Nothing came of it. The leads kept arriving and then dissolving. The case had two figures who drew particular attention over the years. Two men whose connections to the women raised questions that never fully went away. The first was a man named Dustin Reckla. He had been Suzie Streeter's former boyfriend, and in the period leading up to the disappearances, he had done something strange and troubling. He had broken into a mausoleum in Springfield and stolen gold fillings from a skull. Suzie had apparently given a statement to police about the incident, a statement that put Reckla in legal jeopardy. Some investigators theorized that someone connected to Reckla, or Reckla himself, might have had reason to retaliate. But in June 1992, Reckla took a polygraph test. He denied any involvement. He passed. He later testified before a grand jury in 1994. Nothing in his testimony changed the direction of the investigation. He has never been charged. The second man was more difficult to dismiss. His name was Robert Craig Cox. Cox was living in Springfield at the time of the disappearances. He had a connection to the McCall family. He worked at the same car lot as Stacy's father, a man who moved in overlapping circles. In 1996, Cox sat down for a journalist interview, and what he said was hard to explain. "I just know that they are dead," he told the reporter. "That's not my theory. I just know that." He claimed he had been home in bed the night of June 6th and 7th. He did not directly implicate himself, but the statement lingered, because knowledge in cases like these isn't something that comes from nowhere. You either see something, or you hear something, or you were somewhere. Cox never explained how he knew. He is currently serving a life sentence in Texas for armed robbery. He has never been formally named as a suspect in the Springfield Three case, but his words have followed the investigation for nearly 30 years. On December 31st, 1992, 6 months after the disappearances, a man called the America's Most Wanted hotline. He told the operator he had information about the 3 missing women. The operator attempted to connect him to investigators in Springfield. The line went dead. Police went public with a statement saying the caller had, in their words, prime knowledge of the abductions. They appealed directly to him through the media. They asked him, urged him, to call back. He never did. No one has ever identified who made that call. The years continued to pass, and the investigation moved in and out of the public eye. Tips came in from across the country. Some pointed to forests, others to farms. A motorcycle gang member told police about a hog farm in Webster County, run by a man who, it turned out, had a prior conviction for murder. Officers searched the property in 1993. They found nothing. The man died in 1995. There was another tip, years later. one that struck some investigators as more than coincidence. A mechanical engineer used ground-penetrating radar to scan a section of the south parking garage at Cox Hospital in Springfield. He was looking for subsurface anomalies. He found three anomalies, roughly the same size, 2 running parallel, 1 perpendicular. A configuration, he noted, consistent with grave sites. Police declined to excavate. They cited cost. They cited the absence of sufficient evidence to justify the disruption. The garage has not been reopened since. There are several theories about what happened on East Delmar Street that night, and none of them can be proved. The first holds that Sherrill Levitt was the target. She was the only woman expected to be home. Suzie and Stacy had not originally planned to stay the night there. They had considered going elsewhere after the parties. If someone had been watching the house, waiting for Sherrill, they may not have known the girls would arrive. Under this theory, Suzie and Stacy walked into something that was already in motion. They were taken because they were there, because they had seen something or someone who couldn't afford to be seen. The second theory is almost the reverse. Suzie was the target. She was 19, recently graduated, and connected, through her relationship with Rekla and the mausoleum incident, to people who operated outside the law. Her statement to police had consequences. Whether those consequences came back to her that night has never been established. But the theory has never been dismissed either. The third theory is the one that keeps Robert Craig Cox's name attached to the case. He lived in Springfield. He knew the family. He made a statement in 1996 that many people, including members of Stacy McCall's family, have never been able to let go of. The idea that someone could say, with that kind of certainty, that the women were dead and buried without having been there, strains credibility for a lot of people. But Cox has never confessed, and without physical evidence, prosecutors have never moved forward. The fourth theory is the most uncomfortable of all, that the answer lies with someone the investigation never surfaced, someone who passed through Springfield or lived there quietly, or was known in the community under an entirely different context. 33 years of tips, searches, interviews, and appeals have not produced a single charge. That fact alone says something. Sherrill Levitt and Suzie Streeter were declared legally dead in 1997, 5 years after they vanished. Their case files, however, remain officially listed under missing persons. The law declared them gone. The investigation refused to. Stacy McCall's case remains open. A reward fund of $43,000 sits waiting for anyone who comes forward with information leading to the recovery of the women and the prosecution of those responsible. It has been there for years. It has not been claimed. Janice McCall, Stacy's mother, has spent more than 3 decades keeping her daughter's name in the public conversation. She has attended memorials, spoken to journalists, appeared at awareness events. She has not stopped, and the Springfield Police Department has not closed the file. As of 2025, 33 years later, the women have never been found. No remains. No confirmed location. No charges. What makes this case genuinely haunting, beyond the disappearance itself, is the completeness of it. 3 people. 1 night. A lockdown window of a few hours. And somehow, whoever did this moved 3 women out of a house in a residential neighborhood without leaving a meaningful trace, without being identified, without making a mistake that investigators could hold on to. Either they were extraordinarily careful, or they were extraordinarily lucky, or both. The shattered porch light is the only physical mark they left. One broken fixture, and after that, silence. Consider what was still inside that house when the friends walked in that morning. Purses, money, car keys, identification, medication, clothing, the dog. These are not the things people leave behind when they choose to go somewhere. These are the things left behind when people are taken. 3 women, taken from inside a home, with no signs of violent struggle in the interior in the early hours of a Sunday morning in June. In a neighborhood, surrounded by other houses, other people sleeping. Someone knew what they were doing. Someone planned it. And then they disappeared as completely as their victims. The anonymous call on New Year's Eve, 1992, is one of the details that stays with you. A man who knew something, by the account of the investigators who heard about the call. Someone with first-hand knowledge, picked up a phone, waited to be connected to the right people, and then hung up. Or the line was lost, or he panicked, or he changed his mind. Whatever happened in that moment, he has never been found. He may still be alive. He may know exactly what happened to Sherrill Levitt, Suzie Streeter, and Stacy McCall. He may have lived for 33 years with that knowledge, or he may have taken it with him. There is something in cases like these that demands we sit with the discomfort of not knowing. We live in an era of forensic science, of databases and DNA, of surveillance and digital records. And still, this case, 3 women, 1 night, 33 years. The parking garage anomalies have never been excavated. The anonymous caller was never found. Robert Craig Cox has never explained himself. The green van has never been identified. Every thread leads somewhere, and then stops. If you know something, anything about what happened to Sherrill Levitt, Suzie Streeter, and Stacy McCall, the Springfield Police Department is still taking calls. The number is 417-86-41810. Crime Stoppers can be reached at 417-869-8477. Tips can be submitted anonymously. Because somewhere out there, someone knows. They have always known. And the 3 women on East Delmar Street deserve to be found.